Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Anime Villainous how-to video. As always, I'm Chaos in the Sky, and today I'll be showing you how to play as Laxus Dreyar from Fairy Tail in Anime Villainous. Laxus is one of the Fairy Tail Guild's S-class mages, and grandson to the guild's current master, Makarov Dreyar. He's a second-generation Dragon Slayer of Lightning, giving him powerful electric-based magic. Laxus and his grandfather don't often see eye to eye, and as a result, Laxus wishes to take over as the new guild master, and run Fairy Tail the way he sees fit. With this goal in mind, Laxus seeks to force the members of Fairy Tail into battling one another with the help of his allies, the Thunder God tribe. Laxus hopes that by having the guildmates that Makarov sees as his own children fight one another, his resolve will quickly crumble, and when it does, hand over the title of Guildmaster to Laxus. Since Laxus' plan is to force his dear grandfather into retirement so that he can become the new Guildmaster, Laxus' objective in Anime Villainous is to reduce Makarov's resolve down to 0. The way he does this is with a unique tile, aptly named Makarov's Resolve. This tile works similarly to a villain ability, affecting the game at all times as you play. When you start a game as Laxus, you place a marker on Makarov's Resolve at 4, showing that he has full resolve to begin with. Each time a hero is defeated, Makarov loses 1 resolve, moving the tracker 1 closer to 0. Once it hits 0, Laxus' objective is completed, and he enters Showdown. However, there's another catch. Each time one of your opponents plays a hero by fading you, Makarov instead gains 1 resolve, moving it further away from 0. Of course, while it may move Makarov's resolve up a bit, defeating the hero your opponent played will still bring Makarov's resolve back down. This means defeating a hero played by your opponent is a net gain of 0 in terms of Makarov's resolve. Because of that, Laxus can only truly lower Makarov's resolve if he plays heroes to his own territory and defeats them from there. That's the only way Laxus can truly achieve his objective and reach his showdown phase. Before we get into Laxus' villain deck and how he'll go about both playing and defeating heroes, let's take a look at Laxus' villain ability. Laxus is one of only 2 villains in The Battle Begins who actually has a detrimental ability, which is that he may only clash during Showdown. Because of this, Laxus cannot utilize his clash phase until Makarov's resolve hits 0, meaning you won't be able to make use of the clash phase to defeat heroes until reaching Showdown. So, Laxus has to play heroes to his own territory and defeat them without using his clash phase. He also has to deal with whatever heroes his opponents play on him at the same time. It's quite a tall order, but no one ever said a hostile takeover of Fiore's best guild would be easy. While Laxus doesn't have any one specific card he must use to be able to achieve his objective, all of his cards that can play heroes onto himself involve having at least 1 ally in play. Because of this, Laxus' allies are his most important cards by far. There are only 3 allies in all of Laxus' deck, made up of the members of the Thunder God tribe. Those are Freed, Bixlow, and Evergreen. Each of Laxus' 3 allies have 2 commonalities that they all share. First of all, they each have the same ability that when either they or another ally is played, their individual abilities activate. This means you can trigger their abilities multiple times by playing them, which you can do in a handful of different ways. It also means you'll want to try to keep your allies in your territory as much as possible to get their abilities to trigger as much as you can. The second thing they all share in common is that each of them has an item associated with them in Laxus' deck that relates to their abilities. Because each ally's ability is connected to a specific item, we'll talk about the ally and their item card at the same time. Evergreen's item is Stone Gaze, Bixlow's item is Soul Doll, and Freed's item is Dark Ecriture. First we have Freed, the leader of the Thunder God tribe and Laxus' right-hand man, and his item card, Dark Ecriture. Freed's ability is that when he or another ally is played, you may reveal cards from the top of your Fate deck until you reveal a hero. Once a hero is revealed, you play that hero to a location with a Dark Ecriture, and then discard the other revealed Fate cards. This is Laxus' best and most repeatable option for playing heroes onto himself, which he must do to be able to lower Makarov's resolve. However, while Freed's ability is vital, do keep in mind that Freed's ability does not work unless there's a Dark Ecriture in play. If there are no Dark Ecritures, then you cannot resolve Freed's ability, which means you cannot use it at all. Dark Ecriture is more than just an enabler for Freed's own ability. When you play a Dark Ecriture, you must attach it to a location. It's important to note that when an item is attached to a location, it means that item cannot be moved. Since Freed will be playing heroes to Dark Ecriture's location, make sure you keep that in mind when you first play it. Dark Ecriture has its own handy ability as well. At the start of your turn, before Laxus moves, if there are 2 or more heroes at Dark Ecriture's location, you may discard the Dark Ecriture to defeat the hero at that location with the lowest strength value. Since Laxus's ability prevents him from clashing, and vanquishing with your allies isn't always ideal since you want them to stay in play for their abilities, this is one of Laxus's strongest tools for defeating heroes. The second of Laxus's allies is Bixlow, and his associated item card is his beloved Soul Doll. Whenever Bixlow or another ally is played, you may choose a Soul Doll from your discard pile and play it to any location you like. Soul Dolls are 0-cost items that allow you to discard them to gain 1 power and draw 1 card when a hero is defeated at their location. Unlike Dark Ecriture, Soul Dolls don't attach to anything, so you can move them whenever you like. They're very useful for helping Laxus move through his deck faster, while also getting him more power for his more expensive cards, like his allies or Dark Ecriture. The third and final ally is Evergreen, the female member of the Thunder God tribe. We'll actually talk about our item first, which is Stone Gaze. Stone Gaze is an item you attach to a hero in your territory. A hero with a Stone Gaze attached gets -4 strength, which you'll see later on puts most heroes in Laxus's Fate deck all the way down to 0 strength. Evergreen's ability is actually a little different from Bixlow and Freed in that she has 2 different options. When Evergreen or another ally is played, you may either defeat a hero that has a Stone Gaze attached, or you may choose a hero and have that hero lose 1 strength. Freed, Bixlow, and Evergreen all work together in conjunction to help Laxus play heroes, defeat them, and benefit from their defeat. Thanks to this, having all 3 allies in play can lead to a strong combination of using their abilities repeatedly to make big leaps in Laxus's progress. Now that we've covered the allies themselves as well as their associated items, let's talk about the other cards in Laxus's deck that work in conjunction with his allies. There are 2 effects and 1 item that interact with your allies, which are Thunder Legion, Thought Projection, and Battle Invitation. Thunder Legion lets you choose an ally in your territory and play them for free. This is your answer for how to activate your allies' abilities when all 3 of them are already in your territory, or even just to reuse an ally's ability when you've yet to draw the other ones. While Thunder Legion is how you make use of your allies' abilities when they're already in play, Thought Projection is how you get allies back if they end up in your discard pile. Thought Projection is an item that you can play and just let sit in your territory. Then, when an ally is in your discard pile, you can move Thought Projection to choose an ally in your discard pile, pay their cost, and play them to Thought Projection's location. Using Thought Projection is no different from playing an ally from your hand when it comes to their abilities. So not only does Thought Projection let you bring back an ally from your discard, it also lets you make use of that ally's ability, as well as any other allies currently in your territory. Lastly, we have Battle Invitation, which is Laxus's only way to play heroes to himself outside of Freed. When you play Battle Invitation, you get to reveal 2 cards from the top of your Fate deck for each ally in your territory. If a hero is revealed, you then get to play that hero, followed by shuffling the rest of the Fate cards back into your Fate deck. Freed and Battle Invitation both have their positives and negatives, but they are your only options to start lowering Makarov's resolve. While you can manage with just using one or the other, odds are you'll want to make good use of each of them to effectively play as Laxus. Laxus's next 3 cards are crucial to solving a problem you may have noticed by now. With Laxus relying so heavily on his allies, of which there are only 3 in his deck, what do you do if they end up at the bottom of your deck when you start the game? Even if you discard every turn, you can only get through your deck so fast after all. Which is exactly why Laxus has 3 cards that help him with going through his deck faster, and getting the cards he needs. Those are Biding Time, Gloating, and Well-Laid Plans. 2 of which are effects, while the other is Laxus's only scheme. Biding Time is an effect that lets Laxus discard his entire hand, and after doing so, he can choose a card from his deck or discard pile to put into his hand, shuffling his deck afterwards. Thanks to this, even if all 3 of the Thunder God tribe allies end up at the bottom of your deck, you can have Biding Time put one of them into your hand, while also giving your deck a little reshuffle. The next effect is Gloating, which when played gets placed below Laxus's deck. On your next turn, before Laxus moves, you get to draw up to 2 cards for each hero in your territory. Notice it says up to, so you can draw any amount so long as it isn't more than the amount of heroes in your territory times 2. After drawing, you then have to discard cards until you only have 4 in your hand. This is a great way for Laxus to get through his deck quickly to find not just his allies, but any other important cards he may need, such as Dark Ecriture or Battle Invitation. Now we have Laxus's only scheme card, Well-Laid Plans. Well-Laid Plans triggers whenever the targeted player draws 2 or more cards. Once it's triggered, Laxus discards up to 3 cards from the top of his deck, and then he may choose an item from his discard pile to put into his hand. Once again, since the card text specifies Laxus may discard up to 3 cards, you can choose any amount from 0 to 3 when discarding. This scheme allows Laxus to get back items he needs like Stone Gaze, Dark Ecriture, or Thought Projection. Being able to discard cards from the top of his deck can also be surprisingly helpful. If you discard one of your 3 allies using this card, but then you use it to get Thought Projection from your discard pile, you can then utilize Thought Projection to play that ally from your discard pile. A very useful combo. Laxus has just a few more cards in his deck, and the next ones we're going to talk about are his forms. As we know, Laxus' ability is actually detrimental to him, preventing him from clashing unless he enters Showdown first. However, if we change Laxus' form, that will temporarily change his negative ability into something different. The 2 forms that Laxus has are Dragon Force and Lightning Body, and they both serve 2 different but strong purposes. Lightning Body changes Laxus' ability to where when he moves to a location that has a hero, you then discard Lightning Body. Once Lightning Body is discarded, Laxus is then able to perform actions that are covered by a hero at his location during that turn. Laxus will likely end up with a lot of heroes in his territory, since his objective revolves around beating a lot of them. That means a lot of his locations will end up covered, and having Lightning Body to give Laxus more action economy can be a big help. It's also possible that if you are already at a hero's location and play Lightning Body, you can then use it as a way to avoid Laxus' default ability and perform a clash if the hero is weak enough. While Lightning Body is more about subverting heroes to get more options, Laxus' other form, Dragon Force, takes a more direct approach. Dragon Force gives Laxus a powerful 4 strength, and changes his ability to where you discard Dragon Force after clashing. Since Dragon Force's ability overrides Laxus' default ability while in play, this means you can actually clash despite not being in Showdown. As you know, Laxus cares a lot about keeping his allies in play to make use of their repeatable abilities, so being able to use Dragon Force to defeat a hero by clashing rather than vanquishing can go a long way. Laxus also has one last effect card that pairs very well with Dragon Force, which is Lightning Dragon Roar. When played, this card lets Laxus clash with a hero at your location or at an adjacent one, all while ignoring your villain ability. Since it ignores the villain ability, Lightning Dragon Roar allows Laxus to clash even if he has no form, and even better, it allows him to clash while in his Dragon Force form without having to discard it afterwards. Anything Laxus can do to defeat heroes without having to lose his allies and vanquish actions is a positive overall, so making use of his forms in Lightning Dragon Roar will be paramount to doing well with him. There is one final card in Laxus' villain deck, which is his Thunder Palace. Thunder Palace is an item that costs an expensive 4 power, and for good reason. Thunder Palace makes it where each location in Laxus' territory gains a vanquish action. Not only does this mean that Laxus can use an ally to perform a vanquish no matter where he is, he can even do 2 vanquishes in one turn at his rightmost location, Cardia Cathedral. However, before Laxus moves at the start of your turn, you must either pay 1 power or discard Thunder Palace. This makes it very difficult to not only play, but to keep in play, so it's most useful as a finishing card to help you quickly reach your objective or close out your showdown phase. Knowing when to play Thunder Palace will be an important thing to learn for any Laxus player. Now that we've finally covered all of Laxus' villain deck, let's get into his Fate deck. You already know that you'll be playing a lot of heroes to yourself, so you'll want to be prepared for who you'll end up facing to lower Makarov's resolve. The first 3 cards we have are Natsu, Happy, and then Lucy and Loki. Despite saying 4 names, these are just 3 cards. First we have Natsu, the strongest hero in the Fate deck and Laxus' biggest obstacle. With 5 strength, Natsu is just out of range of being defeated by any of Laxus' allies, and even by Laxus himself, even when he has Dragon Force. He also won't be brought down to 0 strength by a single Stone Gaze, like most heroes. On top of all of this, Makarov loses no resolve when Natsu is defeated. The old Gramps knows that Natsu never stays down long, and seeing him lose just means that Natsu will be back up before you know it. Because of that, defeating Natsu does not move Laxus closer to his objective in any capacity. If Natsu is around, then his Exceed companion Happy isn't far off. Happy is actually an item rather than a hero, and he gets attached to a hero when played. A hero with Happy attached gets +1 strength, and additionally, whenever that hero is defeated, Makarov loses 1 less resolve. This means he actually doesn't pair well with Natsu, but he'll be a major pain for Laxus if he's paired with any other hero. The next hero is a bit of a unique one, as this hero is actually a 2-for-1 deal. Lucy and her celestial spirit Loki work together as a single Fate card in anime Villainous. Because of this, their ability reflects that there are 2 of them. Whenever Lucy and Loki are played, if Laxus isn't in Showdown, then Makarov gains 1 additional resolve. As you can probably guess, their ability also includes that if they're defeated, then Makarov loses 1 additional resolve. Make sure you realize that because it's Lucy and Loki's ability that adds the extra resolve, it means that even if Laxus plays them, Makarov's resolve will increase. If Lucy and Loki are played by an opponent, then Makarov gains 2 resolve. If they're played by Laxus, he gains 1 resolve. However, whenever Lucy and Loki are defeated, Makarov will lose 2 resolve, unless Happy is attached to them, in which case he'd lose 1 resolve. The next heroes on our list are 3 of Fairy Tail's S-Class mages. Fairy Tail has 5 S-Class mages: Laxus, Mystigan, Mirajane, Urza, and Gildarts. Luckily for Laxus, Gildarts isn't in his Fate deck, but the other 3 S-Class mages that don't agree with his ideals are. First is Urza, whose ability is an exact counter to Evergreen's Stone Gaze. Laxus cannot attach items to Urza, which is just Stone Gaze, but that prevents Laxus from using Evergreen's ability to defeat her. It also makes it much harder for Laxus to lower Urza's strength, unlike any other hero. Following Urza, we have Mirajane, who cannot be defeated in a Vanquish action. Because of this, you'll have to defeat Mirajane using either Evergreen's ability, Dark Ecriture, or clashing with her directly. Our final S-Class mage is the mysterious Mystigan. Whenever Laxus moves to Mystigan's location, he must immediately discard his form. This triggers before Lightning Body's ability activates, meaning you won't be able to take covered actions at Mystigan's location when it's discarded. Following the S-Class mages, we have a few more Fairy Tail members that stand in Laxus' way. First, we have Gajiel and Levi, the Iron Dragon Slayer and Script mages. Gajiel's ability is that if Natsu is in Laxus' territory, then Gajiel gains 2 strength. This takes him from a 3 strength to 5 strength, putting him at the same level as Natsu, and becoming quite annoying to defeat. Levi, meanwhile, is only 2 strength. Not much of a threat to Laxus, but she does prevent him from using Dark Ecritures to defeat heroes. Keep in mind that this doesn't stop Laxus from using Freed's ability to play heroes to Dark Ecriture, it just stops him from using the Ecriture's own ability to defeat heroes. The final 2 heroes are the mages of Ice and Water, Gray and Juvia. Gray has only 2 strength, but he prevents Laxus from moving his allies, which can prove troublesome at the wrong time. Juvia's ability, meanwhile, is that if a hero at her location would be defeated, Juvia is defeated instead. This can lead to Juvia protecting more annoying heroes from defeat, or potentially backfire in Juvia sacrificing herself for a weaker hero. While a lot of Laxus' Fate cards are heroes, he does have one effect in his Fate deck, and one other item besides Happy, which are We Are Fairy Tail and Counter Magic. We Are Fairy Tail is simple. It just allows the one playing it to move a hero to any location. Pretty frustrating when you have a hero set up to be defeated by Dark Ecriture or get vanquished by an ally. Counter Magic, meanwhile, is an item that actually attaches to another item. An item with Counter Magic on it has its ability ignored. During Laxus' turn, he can then spend 2 power to discard Counter Magic. It's important to note that while Counter Magic stops Stone Gaze from lowering a hero's strength, and it prevents Dark Ecriture from being used to defeat heroes, it doesn't affect Freed or Evergreen's abilities. This means even if a Stone Gaze has Counter Magic on it, you can still use Evergreen's ability to defeat the attached hero. Likewise, you can still have Freed play a hero to a Dark Ecriture's location, even if it has Counter Magic attached. Also pay attention to how Laxus must pay 2 power during his turn to discard Counter Magic. You cannot pay power for discarding it until after Laxus moves, as that is what during his turn refers to. So you can't pay to remove Counter Magic from Dark Ecriture and use that Dark Ecriture to defeat a hero on the same turn. Our last card to cover is Laxus' challenge, Fairy Law. Fairy Law is one of the great fairy magics, Makarov's most powerful technique. When it's in play, the old man simply cannot lose any of his resolve, no matter how many heroes Laxus defeats. To discard Fairy Law, Laxus must discard his form during his turn. Notice how Fairy Law says during his turn, like Counter Magic does. This means that Laxus must first move to a location, and only then can he discard his form. Once again, this means that while you could use Dark Ecriture to defeat a hero, you wouldn't be able to lose resolve from having the Ecriture defeat said hero, since you can't discard Fairy Law until after Dark Ecriture would activate. With that, we've covered everything you need to be able to play as Laxus. For a guy who thinks he can force his way through most things with sheer power, he's got a surprisingly complex gameplay loop of utilizing his allies and items to beat hero after hero. You'll have to put in a lot of brain and brawn for this Lightning Dragon Slayer to usurp his grandfather as the new Fairy Tail Guildmaster. If you have any questions relating to Laxus, feel free to leave a comment and I'll do my best to answer you. Also check out the description for the playlist to see all the other anime Villainous how-to videos if there's another character you want to learn about. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope to see you again for more anime Villainous videos in the future. Until then, farewell.